All right, very good. I see it being recorded. All right, so we'll welcome Derek. I haven't met you yet, but welcome to your site admin training. My name is Sherry. And as we go through, hello, Derek. As we go through things, both Grace and Derek, please jump in at any point in time and ask questions. And Grace, is it still, to my understanding, that going forward, most likely it will be probably Derek and Justine that will ultimately be responsible for the site admin responsibilities?
At this stage, yes, but there should be someone coming in to replace me, so hopefully they'll be able to watch the session.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, how long have you actually had your intranet?
Well, I've only been here 10 months, and in that time, my task was to give it a revamp because they've had it for a while, but it's basically been inactive.
Okay. Pretty much like normal internet for most companies.
All right. Yeah, that makes, okay, I understand now, Derek. Derek, what so far kind of has been your role with the internet?
So what is
your role? My
role? I'm IT. Essentially, our company's been bought out by the Forum Group, so we've only been across the last few months.
Okay, well, what we'll do today, you guys, since obviously you've got a developed internet, is, Derek, I'm going to basically kind of walk you through, obviously, functions and features that you, as what we call a power user, just need to be aware of. Okay, and you might not have to maybe touch some of these features for 6 months, but the fact that you know that they're available to you, that's, just half the battle is knowing the potential of your site.
I understand.
Okay, excellent. Now, Grace, does Derek and Justine both, are they set to that power user access?
I am, but
yeah.
I'm administrator.
I put Justine as it the other day, however, that's a good point.
Yeah, let's double check Derek and make sure he has the correct permissions here.
Yeah.
Yep, he's a power user. Very good. All right, thank you, Grace, for doing that. Just want to make sure Derek was set. All right, you guys, and first and foremost, you guys, obviously today's all about, getting your power users up to speed on where things are at and just kind of, like I said, the potential of the internet. But it's also making sure, especially for Derek and Justine, that you also understand, obviously, how the internet's, going to benefit you as an internet user. So first and foremost, Grace, can you do me a favor and click on that notifications bell icon?
Is that,
yeah, thank you. I just want to see, okay. Now, notice on the right-hand side that there's a settings button. See where it's, there you go. Now, one thing to keep in mind, the internet user now has the ability to determine how they receive their notifications. And by default, you guys, when a notification is sent out, it always goes to your email. And then it also comes through the notification bell icon. So it goes both directions. Now, an internet user now has the ability to determine how they want to receive the notification. So for example, if you click on that settings, you can see that they now can say, well, you know what, maybe I'm getting too much email clutter and I would really like to, say for calendars, for example, Grace, if you click on the right-hand side, there's advanced options or there's just, yeah, and this shows you every single notification that can be generated around a calendar. Well, now what the internet user can now do is they can go under each one of these and they can determine how they want to receive those notifications, okay, which I think is a good thing. But the reason I want to show you this, yeah, it is. When they log in, they now can control that.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing I want to, today we're going to talk about things from an internet user's perspective, but I'm also then going to talk to you about what you guys can do as site administrators, because most likely you guys are going to use the mandatory reads. Is that correct?
More likely, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, imagine, if you deem something as a mandatory read, there's a reason you're doing that. It's important. And so you might want to make sure that the internet user, does receive that email as well as the notification through that icon. Well, you as a site administrator also have the ability to lock these down so that the internet user, if they do try to change certain ones, it would be grayed out for them and they couldn't actually expand the drop down to turn off a particular, direction that the notification was being sent. So you still control it if you want to. Okay, now I want to show you how to do that. Now, typically, guys, a lot of times, does it really matter how they receive their calendar invites? Probably not. But mandatory reads, you just might want to think about that a little bit. So from a site administrator's perspective, if you want to ever lock any of these down, if you go to that power user cog to the right of your name, so at the very top, Grace, there you go, and go to application settings. If you go to the control panel.
I gave you access to the mouse as well.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Grace. Appreciate that. See where we're looking for manage notification settings. Might be one more down, Grace, if you just scroll down a little ways. There it is, left-hand side. So let's say that you've decided that you really want to make sure that the internet user receives those mandatory reads. Grace, if you scroll down and you look for pages, there you go. And then once again, you can open up the advanced options. And the very first one actually deals with the mandatory read. It says a mandatory page has been basically added for you to read. Now, notice that there's a force and a lock button next to each one of these. Now, if you lock it, remember, by default, it goes out email and notification. Push means it's going out through the phone app, okay? If you lock it, you're basically locking down the setting that it's currently housed at, okay? So they would have to receive it through the email and notification. Then that would gray it out. If you ever want to change the setting, so let's say that for some reason, the one below that says a page has been added to a category that you watch, and you want to change that. If you make a change in here and you change it from the default, and maybe they're only going to receive it through the notification, you need to force out your new change. So you would force it out, and then that goes out global. Okay. Now remember, if it's not until you lock it that takes the ability for the internet user to then change it. So even though you forced it out, that's going to kind of reset it how they receive it, but the internet user could still go to their settings and change the dropdown if they wanted to. So does that kind of explain the difference?
What the default should be.
Say that again, Derek.
Basically, that's going to be the default now for everyone. But if you want to lock it, make it so they can't change, you got to lock it.
Yes, absolutely correct, Derek.
Thank you.
Okay, so even though the internet user thinks they have control over their notifications, you still ultimately control how they do receive them if you want to.
Okay.
All right, any questions with that?
No, that's good.
Okay, excellent. All right, Grace, you can just scroll up there. The presence icon is the next one over from the notifications bell icon. I'm sure you're probably familiar with that. Obviously, the next icon over is the mandatory reads icon. Obviously, so when you do push out a mandatory read, that's how they'll know they have one. Are you guys familiar with the next icon over, the watches?
I've seen it, but
yeah, I don't think many people use.
Okay, and you guys, sometimes if people don't know the benefit of it, they really don't understand how it can assist them. Now, I use it quite a bit because if you understand think about me, I train out of the United States, but all of the content that's created for the trainers is actually generated and created from the UK. So completely different time zones. So when I'm on our internet, I have several watches placed on categories. Now, a category is just a folder, okay? But what I have it done, there's certain categories that are of value to me as a trainer, and if they add a new document, I need to be notified so I can stay on top of new training information. So I'm not constantly wondering if they've changed something. So I do receive notifications based on any categories that I have placed watches on. You can also, hey Grace, go to that news and events content area in your top menu there. I'm sure you have a category in here. Yeah, we can just leave this area. The announcements category, for example. Can you click on the announcements category? Okay, so notice on the right-hand side of a category, there's the Add Watch button. You're almost on it. There you go. So if you ever place a watch, you guys, on an entire category, here are your options. There'll be two basically checkboxes that you or any of your internet users could potentially select. So go ahead and click on that button, please. All right, so here you could place a check mark where it says a new page has been added to the category. And then once again, you would get notified. Or you could put the check mark in both of them, and you can say if an existing page gets edited and basically republished, you would like to be notified as well. So you can set watches on an entire category. Okay. And like I said, for me, this is extremely beneficial. And once it's kind of explained and demonstrated to a lot of your internet users, you'll be amazed at how often they'll set watches on things. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes though the category, there might be 100 pages or 50 pages in a category and you're going, I don't need to know, every time something's updated. Remember, you can just put a watch down to a page level as well. So anytime they open up a page, usually towards the upper left-hand corner, obviously is the ability to watch just a page, and if somebody edits it, once again, they get notified. So, all right, you can take those check marks out, Grace. You don't have to watch these categories, but that's just for you guys to know, as well as, and sometimes you guys, you're gonna have a nice internet, and anytime you push out something new, there's always that, reluctance. Oh, we gotta learn something new. But as soon as they know how it benefits them and it can make their life easier, then they're usually pretty on board with things. And the watches, can definitely be very beneficial. Okay. The favorites icon, that little star icon, Grace, open up a page, even the staff announcements page, that's fine. Now within here, you guys notice upper left-hand corner, so you could watch obviously this page, but notice you also have a favorites button. Anytime you mark a page as a favorite, you guys are literally just creating a list of links to those pages. So maybe pages that you just reference maybe on a day-to-day basis, and it'll create initially a drop-down from that favorites icon, and you'll click the name of the page, it just goes and opens it up for you. So it's very similar to creating like a bookmark on the internet. Sites that we reference a lot, it's just for pure convenience. Okay. But no notifications from the favorites, just literally links to pages. Grace, do me a favor, go to that drop down to the right of your name and go into Edit Profile. And I want to see if you guys have built out expertise and interest. If you scroll down just a little ways, okay, yeah, click in there. Oh, excellent. All right, so Derek, if you're going to be kind of going forward responsible for the internet, do you know how this got created, how they built this out?
No.
Okay. First and foremost, at some point in time, one of your previous site administrators had to actually create this list. Business is what we call a category, and then obviously accounting, BA skills, finance, those are expertise that obviously live or are associated with that category. Now, the benefit of this is once it's built out, then your internet users, once they come in here and they update their expertise and interest, this is actually searchable through the people directory. And the whole purpose of it is let's say you're working on an Excel spreadsheet or something, and you're just having a really hard time with it. Maybe you could go to your people directory and find out of other coworkers who maybe have marked Excel as an expertise, and maybe you could get some help from one of your coworkers. So it's a way to really kind of tap into other skill sets throughout your organization. Now, interest is kind of the same concept, but it's a way for your coworkers to connect, on a different level, okay, outside of, obviously work and things of that nature. So first and foremost, if you haven't really used it to search, I want to show you guys how you could find coworkers that maybe you can find a skill set. All right, so Grace, go to your people directory. All right, now notice that there is an advanced button to the, it's almost straight down from where you're currently at. There you go. When you click on the advanced button, now click on the expertise field. And then let's see who has marked some of those. Okay, so yeah, let's marketing. Now you can obviously add as many different expertise in there. And as you know, the more you add, the more it's going to narrow down your list. But if we just search for marketing expertise, then anybody that has marked that as an expertise would then maybe be able to help you and assist you with maybe a particular marketing question or something that you need. Now, the reason I want to show you this once again is twofold. The benefit from an intranet user's perspective, okay, once they've updated their expertise and interests, how to search on it. But the other thing is, Derek, is if they come to you sometime and they say, hey, can you add, some more expertise to the dropdown, or can you add a few more interests to the dropdown? A power user is the only one that can do that. And how you end up doing that is if you go once again to that power user's cog on that top menu. So once again, Grace, we'll go to that drop down. There you go, application settings. And we're going to go to manage people. Yeah. And then we're going to go to where it says manage expertise. Now within here, you can see that obviously somebody did a great job initially of getting this set up. Now to add a brand new category, because maybe the expertise that you need to add really doesn't fit in business or language or something like that. If you need to add a brand new category, you just click where it says add category and you're going to give it a name. And you click on save. So adding more is extremely easy. You give it a title and you click save. Now, let's say under language, for example, you only have two under language. You have French and Japanese. So let's say you wanted to add Spanish or something under that. So anytime you just need to add a new one, you just click add expertise. And then you're going to put in the specific title. And then the biggest thing here is you would then just select what category it truly should kind of live under. So you could just put it under language, put in a new skill set for expertise, and then when you hit save, you would now have a new expertise skill set. Okay. So very easy to come in here and either add new ones or obviously update, some different expertise. Now here's the nice thing about this. If you can update and add new skill sets to the expertise, the interest is identical. It's going to request a category, and then instead of adding expertise, you just add interests. So Grace, if just use your breadcrumb there and see where it says manage people. Let's just go back to the manage people area. And then it usually is kind of right across from it. So you might have to scroll down just a little ways, but you'll see where it says manage interests. There you go. And it's, as you can see, when you guys get in here, it's identical. You would create your categories and then you add the different interests underneath it. And once again, that is searchable through the people directory.
Cool.
All right, so that's how you can kind of add that if you ever need to. Okay. All right, Grace, while we're in this kind of manage people area, let's go back to that manage people area. There are a lot of other features in here that power users need to be aware of. Now, one of the first things that Grace did is she came into the manage profiles area. So Grace, let's go back into manage profiles. Probably the biggest thing that you'll end up doing here is impersonating some of your intranet users. Now, it looks like you guys use Active Directory. Is that correct, Grace? It looked like, and Derek, it looks like things were coming over via Active Directory?
Yes.
Okay. So within here, really the heavy lifting is done by Active Directory. You don't really need to add new staff members manually, because once they're added in Active Directory and it syncs, this is automatically updated for you. But a lot of times what you might want to do is come impersonate a particular intranet user. Maybe you've just provided them with administrator permissions in a particular content area, and you just want to make sure that when they log in the morning.
Verify you got their rights correct.
I'm sorry, say that again, Derek.
Sorry. You want to verify that you got their settings correct.
Absolutely. So you literally are seeing the internet through their eyes. So Grace, go ahead and impersonate one of those employees. That's fine. Anybody's fine. Okay, so we're going to come in here. You'll notice that instead of where Grace's name was and her image was, it's now reads, is that Alan?
Yes.
Okay, so now you're seeing the internet through Alan's eyes. So there might be some portions of obviously that top menu that Alan does not have the ability to kind of access based off of permission. So it really is a nice way to really make sure that you've got their permission set up and can they access what they're supposed to.
Why would that occur, the top menu? Because I added all the top menu, and it should be visible to everyone.
Then we need to change that. Now this would be a really good site admin training for you then. Grace, go to the drop down to the right of where it shows Alan's name, and then go change impersonated user. And you're going to see a button here on the right hand side that says return to my login. And that'll put you back in as your login. All right, now let's go to application settings. And I'm going to show you why some of those are not visible to another internet user. Go to where, manage top menu. And so for example, Forum Direct. Go to the lock to the left of Forum Direct. There it is. Right now, notice how everyone doesn't have access. Make them a user. Yep. And now anybody who's the typical internet user would be able to see that top menu for Forum Direct.
Okay. Awesome.
So you would want to make sure that prior to obviously giving people access, you go through each one of those locks to make sure that people have the correct access. Now this one here, you guys, I want to talk to you about blogging. So Grace, I'm glad you clicked on that. How are you going to basically approach blogging? Is everyone going to be able to blog, or are you going to reserve that permission for just a handful?
So I've got it in two sections. I've got on the home page, it's like anyone can blog and it will come up on the home page. And then we've got, I've made teams for our EGMs and they will blog, and the specific page I made for this blog will only show their content.
Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah, it does. So right now, because and you're correct. The way blogging typically works when somebody gets a new intranet is power users always have the ability to blog. It's just a part of your permission. Then you have to give everyone else the ability to blog. And right now, based on how you've got that. Hold on, click on blogs for me for a second, the verbiage blogs. I want to see what that was created. No, not in there, Grace, in the actual middle section. You're almost on it. Yeah, right in there. Can you click where it says blogs, the verbiage? I want to see how that was built out. That's a content area. You have not yet, you've created a content area for blogging, but that doesn't necessarily mean you've given people the ability to blog. Because blogging needs a certain permission.
I made it like that because I know that there's not a specific page for blogs as such. So we wanted to break them up into how the EGMs were going to blog about their specific sections. So I just figured this would be the easiest way for that to then I go like that. And there's the Enviro blog. But I think I made all the EGMs authors, potentially.
Okay. Do me a favor. Go back to that manage top menu, and I want to see how your people directory is basically set up. So go to the lock to the left of the people directory. Okay, very good. So right now, yeah, you've got everyone set up as a user. So which means everybody now has, they can see and use, obviously, the people directory. Now you've got a forum group blog created. So how many people are in this group called forum bloggers? Is there a bunch in there?
No idea.
Do you know how they got created, Grace?
No, that must have been before.
Okay, so this is how they created this. And Derek, this is going to be something you're going to need to know too. So whoever set your internet up initially, whoever your first site administrators were, They created what we call a group. Now, the advantage of creating groups is obviously the ability to hand out a permission to a bunch of people as opposed to one at a time. Okay, so if I worked for you guys and I came up to you and said, hey, Derek, you know, I'd love to be able to blog, you would have to come into where it says add people, find my name, and then give me the blogging permission. Okay, so blogging is actually associated with the people directory because blogging is actually a tool that is located on their actual profile. So how this was created. So Grace, go ahead and just close out here, so we don't want to change it because obviously somebody was very specific how they did this. All right, if you'll scroll to the top, we're going to go to, once again, application settings. And eventually we would have covered this anyway, but now we're kind of seeing it in a real environment. Grace, click where it says manage security, kind of on the right-hand side. Now, while we're in here, you guys, just so you understand, departments, locations, and companies, all this information is basically going to be synced over from Active Directory. So honestly, shouldn't be anything that you need to create in there. But the one that's called Manage Interact Groups, this is your ability as a site administrator to create your own groups and then hand them out permissions utilizing that top menu that we were just in. Basically, you know, permissions on a group basis. All right, so go ahead and click in there, and you're going to see the one called, where's our bloggers? There it is, forum bloggers. Okay, so go ahead and click on it. So we can see that there's basically the name, but there's a people tab, and that's going to tell you exactly who else has been given the ability to blog. So Peter, Mark, Bill, and Tanya. Now, let's say that you wanted to add somebody else who could blog. Okay, they're not a power user, but they want that ability. Down at the bottom, if you scroll down, Grace, you can just type in somebody's name, and when you hit search, so yeah, you can put Alan in there if you want to. We won't add him. Anybody you want to is fine. Then once you locate him, so Matthew there, for example, you can literally just put a check mark by his name, and then you can either drag and drop to the right-hand side, or you can click that big green red or that big green add button once you've selected their name. And it doesn't matter which one you choose as long as it's the correct Matthew. Okay. So
it doesn't matter. Okay.
No, because it's the same person, so it doesn't matter. It just wants you to identify the person. Okay. All right, so now these 5 people, when they go to their profile, they actually now have the ability to blog. So
Okay.
the concept that you guys just need to take away from this is if you need to create a group, and maybe they're not all in the same department, they're not all in the same location, you can create your own groups. And then you can actually assign that group permissions utilizing the Manage Top Menu security locks.
So if we wanted to let anyone blog, just because it won't go to the pages that like everyone will see, is that possible or no?
It is. It is. Okay, so if you're going to allow blogging to everyone within your organization, which is absolutely fine, go ahead and go back to Manage Top Menu. And we just need to make one change to your people directory. Okay, so once again, go to the security lock. Okay, so yeah, go to the security lock, Grace. There you go, thank you. Now what we need to do here right now, notice that everyone right now is just a user, which means they are a user of the people directory. Now if you want everyone to blog, click where it says user, and then you're going to see a permission called blog user. Give everyone the ability to blog now. So now everyone in your people directory can now blog if you choose blog user.
Okay, cool.
Does that make sense?
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But right now, the only ones that could blog would be you, Derek, Justine, and that forum bloggers group.
Right. Okay. What do you reckon? We'll just give it to everyone.
Yeah, some people like that stuff.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. So now when any of your internet users go to, so Grace, now click on your image up there or your name, either one, and it'll take you to your profile wall. So now that you've changed that, so everyone can blog. What they can now do is, because member gets associated to the people directory, now when they click on read my blog, kind of right there in the middle, there you go. First thing they're going to have to do, obviously, is on the right-hand side, they're going to have to activate the blog. Now, Grace, yours is already activated, so you're good. But they'll need to activate it, and then after that, they can actually start adding new posts and become bloggers.
Okay, great.
Okay.
The other just quick thing before I forget is see this section, how it's like a summary of contact details. Is there any way to manage what's seen there? Just because like our time zone, like it's not really relevant, like straight away. Like Pete was saying, why wouldn't it just be like the most important information when you see someone's profile?
Yeah, the good thing about it is when you have daylight savings.
Yeah, I don't know. Pete was just asking if it could be less.
Less is obviously what's the contact details.
Is it tunable, Sherry?
Say that again, Derek.
Is that area tunable, as in what's displayed there, the contact details?
The only thing you could potentially do there is submit a ticket to see if Interact's IT department could remove that. From a site administrator's permission, there isn't really anything that allows you guys to basically remove that. Now, the only thing you have control over, there are some things like, so it shows your marketing company. Grace, go back to the application settings and go to that manage security detail. Now, there are some things like the company. I'll show you there are some things that you could potentially control. Go into manage departments or companies. I apologize. Either one's fine. Grace, yeah, I apologize. Anyone's fine. Now, the forum, go ahead and click on that very top one, the forum company. So in order for like company, location, and department to show up on that profile wall, oh, they didn't. So normally I will see where it says display in details. See where that top one says display details? And it says if this box is checked, details are shown on the profile page. So maybe company wasn't coming through. Were departments coming through?
Yeah, marketing.
Okay, let's go.
That's forum too.
Forum, marketing, phone number, email address.
Okay, Grace, go back to the managed security and let's go check out maybe departments. And let's go into one of those and see how that top section was selected. Yeah, let's check out departments.
Sorry, Justine's joined us now too.
Oh, hi, Justine. Okay, so go into accounts. Yeah, you can click on any one of those. We can go to the top one called accounts. Display on details. Okay. So they've got it set by default to automatically come in here. Now, the only thing I can think, since it's a default setting, go to your application settings. Let's go to control panel. And let's go to what they call manage application variables. These are your default settings, you guys. So if you're ever wondering if you can turn something off kind of globally or something, if it's in here, it's in these application variables. Now, Grace, on the left, it says show more variables. I know I've seen something in here a while ago that kind of referenced, you know, departments and locations, and it kind of showing up on that profile. I just have to think of where they might have placed it. Click where it says organizations underneath in that middle. You're almost there. Good. Let's see if it's under there. Okay, that's just allowing the additional information, additional companies. So it wasn't there. When somebody goes to their profile, they have a primary department. They've also now had the ability to allow an additional department drop down. Okay, so that's where that got turned on. I'm trying to think where else it might be.
That can they? Their profile details.
I think that's saying it can. If this is checked, then a user can belong to multiple departments.
Yeah, because sometimes, Justine, somebody might be a shared resource, so their primary department maybe is HR, but they also maybe assist in marketing or something. So they can have their primary department, but then also kind of a secondary department.
Yeah, okay.
So it's just the secondary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Default one is by the Active Directory.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
You know, under your profile, your details, you can't change that, can you?
I
You
didn't.
can as an administrator.
I can add my mobile number because some of the mobile numbers were not
People
coming
can
up.
edit.
And then
It hasn't come across from Active Directory.
no, mine was Peter's was wrong.
Okay, you probably want me to tell me so I fix it on Active Directory.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
why-
Yeah,
Why
but
can they be able to do that themselves?
yeah.
You want to fix it on Active Directory because
I agree.
there's more than other places where you can see that. So on your contacts on your phone,
Yeah.
you can bring up a global directory search of Active Directory.
Yeah.
So
Oh, so it impacts other things.
the other thing,
I
so
guess
you want to
that's
correct it
fine.
in one place.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's
I'm
fine.
just, you know. Not really helpful.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just kind of looking through here trying to see where I'd seen that. I don't know if it's in the people directory.
Yeah, and the other one that wasn't coming across the work telephone, but it just wasn't coming across at all. I don't know, it's just like a setting flaw or not. But I only noticed that like last week.
Yeah, I can't remember, you guys, where I saw it in here. As you can see, there's a ton of them in here. But Derek, one day, or if you and Justine are kind of messing around in here, somewhere in one of these many kind of default settings that you as obviously a power user can control. I know I've seen something that basically allows you to kind of en masse determine where the departments, companies, and I believe it's locations kind of get shown on the actual profiles themselves. But I'm just not, I know it's not authentication. It's not the gallery, obviously. I don't think it's global. No, I don't think it's in the global. I'd have to spend some time and mess with that. But the one thing while we're in here, this right here, you guys, under global, where it says the Hive, that's how actually it basically puts your tab name to the Hive. So for some bizarre reason, if you ever want to change your tab name, only you guys, once again, as a power user can do that. So it changes the actual tab name. And it actually changes when you guys log in. It'll just say, you know, log into the Hive. If you make a change here, it also changes it there as well. But it looks like you guys are probably pretty set on your internet name, which is a very creative name, by the way. All right, so sorry I can't remember exactly where I've seen that, you guys.
Oh, good.
Okay. All right, the next area I'm going to just kind of pop in and out of. So now the rest of the training literally is just going to be strictly about what you guys as power users can do. And, you know, under the manage people, obviously the ability to impersonate is huge because, you know, as you just saw there, you wouldn't have necessarily known that the internet user couldn't see half of that top menu, because what you guys will get used to is seeing the internet through a power user's eyes, which means you can see anything and everything. So everything always looks correct to you guys. So not a bad idea every once in a while to pop in and just make sure it, you know, is appearing the way it should for others. Expertise, obviously, you know how to add on to the current list that's been created, as well as manage interest. Additional fields, you guys, is very similar. And I don't know if you guys actually had additional fields. We're going to find out. Additional fields where they show up on the profile is obviously you've got your expertise and your interests. They will typically show down here if they've been added. Yep, and they do. So, oh, very nice. So once again, if somebody within your team has first aid knowledge, they could very well mark that as additional information. And then once again, via the people directory, if needed, you could find somebody who has first aid maybe while you're waiting for, you know, the ambulance to get there or something. You know, hopefully it doesn't come to that. But how to add more to that, maybe you want to know if you have a notary on staff, or, you know, just anything that you truly don't deem as maybe as true expertise, but once again would be of value to know. Once again, if you can do the expertise and the interests, it's not difficult to do the additional fields. Now, the only thing different is, you know, if we look at this one, how it was created, obviously they clicked the new field button. In here, they gave it a name. You do get the option to decide if you want it to be a text field where they could type in yes, you know, if that was the case. Obviously, they put here a little checkbox, or it could be truly like a little date picker. Maybe it's when their first aid expires or when it, you know, when they got their first aid certification. Okay, so it can also be a date picker. You'll pick an icon that maybe makes sense to the internet user. It's been told to apply to the profile, obviously display on the profile. Now here, obviously someone is, one of the power users is going in and going to the profiles and updating that if they know of somebody that is truly first aid certified. If you want the user to be able to edit their own, you need to put a check mark into there. Okay, so that'll be something you guys can decide. But ultimately, you can come in here and add more additional information if you want to. Otherwise, really in the Manage People area, what you guys just need to be aware of, Active Directory synchronization is already set up for you, so you won't have to do anything with that. You won't need to import profiles. This is for some of our other clients that maybe don't have Active Directory, so they use Excel to import their list of employees. Should never have to use transfer profiles. The only time you'll ever get transfer profiles every once in a while is if you have too many, sometimes power users, and you'll get someone who, instead of letting Active Directory do its job, decides that they're going to create a profile manually. And then when Active Directory does sync, you end up with two separate profiles. Okay, but with you guys having Active Directory, and if you just allow Active Directory to do its job, you should never end up with multiple profiles. Okay, this just allows you to merge two together. Let's see what else you have in here. Are you guys using rewards?
We were, but we're not anymore. So we wanted to get rid of that.
Okay. All right, now, about the only thing you can do, the rewards module is going to stay here, but what you could potentially do is, so if I go to your, this would be a good test. Grace, I'm going to go to your profile here. Okay. We can get rid of the rewards button if you want to remove that.
We just wanted to remove it because we're not using it at the moment, so when we try and get everyone onto the intranet, we don't want them to click on that.
You don't want to, absolutely. You don't want them bothering you saying, hey, where's my rewards, right?
Yeah.
Understandable. Okay, you guys, that's once again, it's a control panel feature. It's under Manage Application Variables. And there's actually a rewards area right here. Okay, so what we're going to do is just basically, we're going to take all the check marks out of here. So, and at some point, if you ever decide you want to reactivate it, you can come in here. You actually change the name of it. This I can tell is still a holdover from Interact. We give out donuts. It's based on the whole Homer Simpson show. You guys could obviously change that if you wanted to. But, and we can definitely take that out so that doesn't happen. All right, so that should ultimately remove that little button there. All right, so the rewards, we don't need to really talk about the rewards in there since you're not going to use them, which is fine. All right, Active Directory. Oh, manage profile fields. You guys honestly probably shouldn't need to do really a whole lot in here. I would imagine whoever had the internet maybe first went through and checked all these. But as a power user, you ultimately, once again, get to control what fields are on the edit profile field or form when an internet user is basically updating it. So if there's something that you're not using, so for example, I think there's a field for like fax or something, and we have some people just say we don't have fax numbers really anymore, we don't think we'll use it. What you can do is literally go under each one of these. We won't change anything, but you have settings to each one. If there's anything you're not going to use and you just want to clean it up a little bit, you can always put do not display, okay, and then it would just literally remove it from the actual profile itself. Or if there's something where only you're going to edit it and you don't want them to edit it, you can just basically set that permission as well. And then at the very bottom, if you do changes, and remember these are default settings, just make sure at the very bottom you hit save, and then that will then make the change to the profile page itself. Okay, so you control even the fields on the actual profile. All right, oops, should have went one back. I'm going to go to Manage People. Let's see, shouldn't be much else in here. Okay, and single sign-on. Okay. All right, you guys, any further questions regarding kind of your potential in this kind of manage people area?
I think we're okay.
Okay. All right, the next area that I always take my power users into, and the good thing about it is, because we took a little side tour earlier, the manage top menu. So going forward, if it's really going to be kind of, the internet's going to be, you know, for Justine and Derek to kind of modify and things of that nature. And let's say you need to add something to the top menu. You decided something else should be there. It's very easy to create. Your top menu basically can be built out one of 4 ways. It can be a content area, which, as you guys already know, content area always has that left-hand menu, and it is always given its own landing page. Your news and events was built out as a content area. Documents library most likely was built out as a content area. An application is, an example of an application would be like your workflow and forms. Do you guys have your forms module set up?
No.
No. Okay. So at some point in time, like if you choose application, your people directory is another example of an application. It's a pre-built module. You just have to decide where you literally want it to kind of reside on this top level. Okay, should it be, you know, nested underneath something? Should be at the top level. So an application truly is a pre-built module. Teams are considered an application. Workflow and forms is considered a module. And some of these you have to, you know, pay additional money for. So you might try to set something up and maybe it is not available because you didn't actually purchase that particular, you know, license or whatever the case may be. But that's an example of an application. A header is literally just a label. So a lot of times I'll have customers that maybe across the top they have a header called departments. It's not clickable. And then maybe underneath it, they have maybe a content area for HR and then a content area for IT and things of that nature. So it's not clickable. And then the last one is very self-explanatory. It's truly a link. So you put something in here, they click it, it goes somewhere. Okay, so potentially that is what these, you know, you have your options up here when you build out something new. And then the only other thing you have to think about is if it, let's say I was building out another content area, the last thing I'd have to do is just decide if it should be a submenu. If I leave that check mark out of there, it puts it at basically the parent level, so to put it at the top level. If I put the check mark in, then it allows me to decide where I want to actually place it underneath one of my existing kind of top level menu items. Now, are you guys familiar with if you hide something, what the purpose of that is?
No.
No. Okay, let me give you an example of this. So, and I'll delete anything that I build, so don't worry about that. Here's what we typically see a lot of times, and maybe it's just a US thing, I'm not sure, but a lot of our US clients do not like a real messy top menu, and so they don't like multiple flyouts. Okay, so let's say that I had, I'm just going to call it departments, because this is very common. This happens quite a bit for us. I'm just going to create a header real quick. Come here. There we go. And I'm just going to, for now, I'm going to put it at the top level. So a lot of times we'll have a header, and then they'll create a content area, and this is common with human resources. So let's say I create an HR content area, and I'm going to go ahead and make it a submenu item. But this time, you guys, I'm going to place it under my header that I just created. I'll go ahead and save that. Now, sometimes human resources, if they're really large, they may have a very, robust wellness program, okay, or some other program that really can almost constitute its own content area. They just have so much content area for it. So what we'll typically see is they'll create a new content area, and we'll just call this wellness. Content area once again, and this time I'm going to make it a submenu item of my human resources content area. And then you can kind of see an example of when this hidden kind of gets utilized. All right, so right now we know that we've got HR, and then we got this second flyout. A lot of times, like I said, that second flyout, people just don't like it. It's too, it's too cluttered. And they also would like, if you're interested in wellness, because it's truly a part of HR, they really would like to keep you going to the HR content area, and then from there, go to the wellness category or content area, I apologize. So if I want to do that, I'm going to click on wellness, because what I need here, you guys, is I need the wellness URL. So once it gets there, come on. Just taking a little bit of time here. There we go. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this URL. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is in the actual human resources content area, I'm going to create a link that will then allow the internet users to still have access to that content area. So I'm just going to click here, and I'm going to go to Manage Content Area. I think, Grace, maybe we're fighting a little bit. Sorry about that. And then I'm going to click on Link, and I'm going to create that internal link. Now, if you guys, when it comes to internal links, you guys, one thing, if you can remember, is to find where it shows the .com/AU, and you want to remove that first part of it, that fully qualified portion of the URL. So I'm going to backspace out. Internal links really should begin with where it shows /interact. And the rationale behind that is if 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, you change your internet name, your internal links will not be broken. Now, if you forget, not the worst case scenario, you're just going to have to reconnect some of those links. But this is just kind of one of those strategy things. All right, so here I'm just going to call it wellness.
You are being funny.
And because it's internal, we'll do same window.
There we go, we go.
All right, so now the way it's set up, you guys, if somebody comes to the HR content area, they can now click on wellness, and then they would have access to all of the content for the wellness department. Now, once we've got that link set up, what then that allows me to do is to come back here and now clean up that top menu. So when I come back to manage top menu, and I go all the way down to the bottom here to wellness, so now what I can do is I can hide it. Now it's still active, obviously, but when I hide this, now notice that there is no flyout, but they still have access to that wellness content area. Okay, so that's the whole kind of purpose of that hidden, is if you do have content areas or things that have that, that secondary, or sometimes you have companies that have third flyouts and you want to clean them up, you can definitely create links to them and then just go back in and hide those particular areas up top. All right, I'm going to go ahead and remove that out of there, but just keep that in mind. That's always an option. I'll go and remove that header as well as my content areas. Okay, so I created department. We'll just make sure everything underneath it goes as well.
Actually, before you blow it all away, Terry, can we just
Yes.
do a URL link and get it to display within the page? Example?
What do you want to do, Derek? Go ahead and Grace, take control.
So, unlike under debtors, if I click under debtors, it'll actually go to a URL as an external, but stay within the frame.
All right, Grace.
Like an iframe.
Oh, an iframe?
Yeah, something like that, essentially like that. So all the Hive menus still stay there, but inside there's another page inside to a completely different website.
All right, so give me an example of something that you would like to create, and let's see if we can recreate that.
Say if I want to look at the weather. So I want to go to a URL external weather page.
Okay. Now there is an iframe widget that might interest you for something like that, because maybe on your organization's home landing page, you want to utilize the iframe widget, and then same thing. We've had people do that. They'll bring in the weather, and then it shows it through the actual iframe widget. Had another company.
I understand. Okay. Another example. Get you away from the widgets. If I want to go to a payroll page to log on to our payroll system within the Hive.
You could do that, but you would need, that's capable. Derek, you could do that. You would have to, so I assume your payroll obviously requires a separate login.
Correct.
Okay. Now what you could potentially do is you can set up single sign-on. Now, with single sign-on, what ultimately, as you know, Derek, being an IT person, is once you created that top-level menu, maybe it's called, payroll or, ADP or whatever it is, you would create it as a link. You would put, obviously, the link to that particular payroll system. And then when single sign-on is set up, it would recognize the internet user's credentials and automatically sign them in to that particular payroll, third-party, account or whatever.
Yep. I'm not worried about the signing in, whatever. I just want the page to appear within the Hive. So
you could do that.
Anything.
So what I think Derek's trying to do is trying to create, where would we create the link and how would we do it?
So I think the thing is, you
An
can add and then do it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And say you wanted Google.
Yeah, we're just putting Google.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so in a content areas landing page, you also have the ability, like Grace is doing here, to utilize that iframe widget. When you're building a page, there's an editor, and it also has the ability to pull through an iframe.
So I just go like that.
Yeah. Now,
So it didn't work.
and Grace, you didn't do anything wrong. Go back into the edit mode of that. I don't think you did anything wrong, Grace. HTTPS. Take out the S. Maybe it doesn't need the S in there. Is that Google one for you guys a secure site? Try getting rid of the S and see if that makes a difference. It may or may not. We'll find out. Okay. All right. So this is basically what happens with an iframe. Now there's 3 places, you guys, that can be blocked. First and foremost, at the browser level, and most likely that comes in your browser, so that's not the issue. The second thing, if you do have a site out there and you really would like to utilize it, you can submit a support ticket, because I assume, are you guys in the cloud? Are you housed in the cloud?
As in for the Hive box? No idea where the guys got this stage.
Okay, Grace, do me a favor, close out of here, and I'll check to see where you guys are at. Go back to the application settings. I don't think you guys are on premise. Go to control panel, please.
Take over.
Okay.
Do you want to take over? Yeah.
Gotcha, Grace. Okay, so I'm going to go to the control panel. This is going to pretty much tell me quite a bit about how you're set up. Okay, so you are, I don't believe you are on premise, but yet you're not housed in the cloud either. If you were cloud, when Interact pushes out a new version, it automatically updates for you. This here looks like whenever there's a new version, somebody like, Derek, your IT person, can come out here, check for new updates. What are you guys currently on? 7.8.01. New update is available for 7.9, and then you basically can.
We're on 7.924. I don't know why the top 2 never seem to disappear. But it's
Okay. Oh, okay. So you're on that correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said the sequencing's not right.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys have obviously had to manage your own updates. I'm guessing that you're probably not on-premise. Usually our on-premise clients a lot of times will get our hospitals where they're extremely locked down when it comes to permissions. Otherwise, a lot of our customers, probably 90% of our customers, are kind of cloud-based, and some of them update on their own and then some of them don't. But the only thing I can think about is sometimes if a URL isn't coming through that iframe, you can submit a support ticket and see if Interact's IT team can basically whitelist it in the cloud, because it also can be blocked up in the cloud. And then the other thing, and it wouldn't be with this Google site most likely, but sometimes there are a lot of organizations out there that put code around their sites blocking it from being pulled through an iframe because they don't want to be impersonated. So I doubt that obviously is a Google thing. I doubt if they do that. But otherwise, Grace.
Easy example to work with.
Yeah.
If it's going to work, that's the one for you to work.
Yeah. So Grace, otherwise, you know, you did everything right. It's just for some reason there is an issue with that site coming through. So really the only recourse you would have is probably you guys to, you know, test out the ones that you truly want to try. And then if they don't come through, then maybe submit a support ticket and see if Interact can troubleshoot that for you.
Okay.
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 The other
But-
issue is our digest doesn't seem to be saving, but I have lodged a ticket for that.
Okay, so it's not, yeah, you're doing, so Justine, if that was you, then you're doing exactly what you need to do. If you know if something's not working right, you guys, and you know it's something that's wrong, by all means, use that ticket system and get those tickets submitted so they can start getting that figured out. So what's the issue right now with it?
Like, for example, the email management. So we wanted to send out, rather than everyone getting notifications, we just want to do the digest once a week. But every time, say I want it for today, and like, I don't want to send it to just me, and then I save it, and it saves. Okay, well, last time I've been doing that, it goes, yeah, see, it goes back to its, like, before, and it doesn't save.
So it's not allowing you to take your name out, so once you're part of the email digest, you're...
Oh. Yeah. And it won't change the days either.
Oh, so yeah, it did automatically put back in Friday.
Mm.
Yeah, there's really no, so right now, you guys, once again, you're doing everything correctly. And you said you've already submitted a ticket for it?
Yeah, I did it yesterday, so we're just
Okay,
waiting.
perfect. Okay.
Time difference.
Yeah. Yeah, so what they'll do is they'll log into your site and try to recreate exactly, you know, what you just showed me here. But,
Right.
all right, well, I'm glad to see you guys are utilizing the email digest. Or thinking about it anyway.
Well, right.
Trying to.
Yeah,
All right, well, that's half the battle. You know, you're trying, so that's all right. All right, you guys, we are pretty much at the top of the hour. Do you guys need to step away for a 10-minute break?
You guys right?
All right.
Yeah, all good. We'll just power on and we finish early enough.
Okay, very good. I just want to make sure you guys had that, because what, you're morning over there, so you're starting your day, and I'm actually finishing up my day. So you might need more coffee, I don't know. All right, Grace, let's go back to application settings. And we'll just kind of pop in and out of these different areas, and we'll just see if you guys have questions, because like I said, with Justine and Derek, you maybe have not really just had the opportunity to really kind of see what your options are in here. Now, manage top menus, you guys should be good with. Biggest thing, reminder there, you guys, remember when you build something new, such as department now, and you know, that human resources, you would still have to remember to go back to the lock of anything that you build out new and determine when you're ready for people to be kind of users of it. Because right now, when you build out something new in that manage top menu, it always brings them in initially as no access, because it assumes that you're in kind of a pre-production mode and you're not ready for others to see it. So right now we can see it because we're all power users. Okay. All right, so at some point in time, Grace.
Personally, somebody, we should be able to see the department.
Yeah, so that's...
Jerry, if we impersonated somebody, we shouldn't see it, okay.
Correct, absolutely. And that is usually, I'll always kind of, when I talk to new internet users and my power users, and it just happened today, where one of my new power users, he went and set up his top menu, and he forgot to give access to other people. And so when everybody logged in today, they couldn't see it, but yet he could. So it was a really good reminder that even though you set it up, you're a power user, you'll always see it and make sure that they have the correct access to view everything along that top menu that they should see. So at some point in time, Grace, you may want to clean up your manage top menu and obviously delete what I showed you with the department and content area. Okay. Otherwise, manage security. Obviously, like I said, you can create your groups in there for permission basis. You know, you can give out group permissions. Manage content. Now, there's a couple things in here some more important than others. So Grace, go ahead and we're going to go into the manage content area. Now there's 4 things in here. Grace, with you being kind of the one that's been in the internet the most, have you ever come back into this particular area before?
Yeah, I completely deleted all the media because there was just like hundreds of unnecessary photos in there. So
okay, so you cleaned up the media manager. Okay, that's absolutely fine. Now, other things in here. So Grace did a great job of just kind of identifying things that would be relevant to basically the Hive and anybody that's a content creator that might want to add an image to a page or something. Now for you guys, and if you want to add a new image, it's very easy. You click add image and you browse out and you find it. Now the other thing that you guys as power users have the ability to do is once again kind of manage this media manager. So once again, it stays extremely organized, kind of like what Grace was doing by just removing out images. So obviously you've got a logos category, you've got stock images category, homepage, and it's really easy. You click category, you give it a name, and you save it. Now the one thing that will always throw you off, and it throws everybody off, is if you create a new category, it would say, let's say you had one for marketing, because marketing always likes, you know, maybe to have some banners and things in there, and say you called it marketing. Well, you'd have a new category called marketing, but over here it would show 0, because obviously you haven't added an image yet to that particular category. You've only created the name of the category. So what will happen is you're going to create a brand new category, and then you're going to come over here and you're going to get extremely confused because you don't see the marketing category. It's not until at least you add one image to the actual category itself. So it would show up here. So I would see that new marketing category here. And then once I added it to a category and saved it, then on the right-hand side, it would now populate over here. Okay, so sometimes that throws people off because they just don't see it. Otherwise, obviously your people, see if you've got anybody, yep, okay, so your images for obviously your employees. Multimedia, if you wanted to have some videos in here. If you're ever going to have a video in here, the file size is 100 megabytes or smaller. If it's any larger, you're going to obviously get an error message when you try to upload it. Do you guys use videos at all?
We're planning on doing like a video for our homepage, so that'll get uploaded, but not yet.
Okay. And there's and you guys, if some organizations, you guys, they have so many videos, and they'll actually have, you know, like a YouTube channel or Vimeo channel. And if you do have a lot of videos, what I usually recommend is, you know, continue to use YouTube, continue to use Vimeo, and let, you know, that platform house those massive size, you know, videos and things like that. And then obviously through the widget, the free text widget, you can embed those particular videos. If one of your content creators wants to bring in a video into one of their pages, they can embed it obviously through the page as well. So this is nice for some of your smaller videos. Okay, so like I said, it has to be 100 megabytes or smaller. Other things, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, just roughly how long would 100 megabytes be? Like 30 seconds or
No, it's longer than that.
longer? Oh, that's right then.
It could be 5 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes?
Yeah, probably roughly. Derek probably have a better idea than I would on, you know, exact little time size. But, you know, they're not going to be real lengthy videos by any means, but maybe a little short, like little demo videos or something like that would be just fine.
Cool.
Yeah, we had, oh, who was it? One of our big companies, and they worked with like Sealy and Mattress Firm and all that. They had all these little, like, you know, 3 to 5 minute little demos on, say, a new upcoming product. And that was fantastic for them because then they could obviously utilize the free text widget, and then on their organization's home landing page, anytime they had a new product, they could then display that little video for all their internet users. So they use it quite a bit, actually. The other thing in here that's probably, these two in this area, you guys, are probably the most important to know about. The reorganizing content is very important for you guys to understand. There's 2 things that you can potentially do in here. So let's say that, you know, later on under this news and events content area, you have a category, and it's got it's got 50 pages in it. And later on you're going, I have no idea why we thought it would make such, you know, why it makes sense to put it here when it really should have been under the documents library in a different category. So if you ever need to move pages en masse, this is where you can do that. So what you do is you go over here where it says move content. Now the only thing you have to remember, you guys, and it makes sense, is the destination has to be built out prior to. So if needed, you would need to go into the documents library, create a new category before obviously coming to this stage here. You could obviously narrow it down and say, well, I believe it's probably in our, maybe it's the announcements. You decide announcements really should be housed over here. Don't worry, Grace, I won't move anything for you. You can obviously just identify a couple pages, or here is your almighty select all button. Okay. Now, once you've identified the pages, when you click on move content, it's going to ask you where you want to move that content. So you're going to have to identify the new content area. And then once you've done that, you identify the category that those pages should be moved into. And then once you do that, all 50 or 25 pages would now be located in a new content area in a new category. So just know you have that ability to move pages en masse, okay, if you need to. The other thing you can do is switch out your author. So let's say, for example, Grace. Okay, so if Grace is no longer going to be responsible for these 24 pages, okay, somebody needs to be responsible for them. Because remember, Grace right now is the one that receives the notifications around these pages when they're set to expire and those type of things. So you want to make sure that you have some type of process put into place that when somebody moves on, or sometimes they just take they move to another department, so they're no longer in charge of maybe the marketing pages. They now maybe are in charge of IT pages or something. But what you'd want to do is come into here, identify the particular author, and you're going to click change author. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go through the people directory and you're going to find the new person that now is going to be responsible for those 24 pages that Grace used to be responsible for when it came to the notifications. So make sure that you kind of stay on top of that to make sure these pages are still being taken care of by somebody else.
Can I just ask, so with the pages, for example, the announcements, we've given them an expiry date. Will that remove them from the site, or does it just kind of send you an alert saying the page is expired?
What will happen is if we go look at one of those pages, and that's a really good question. So let's just go look at one of your pages. Most likely you've maybe got something in here.
Okay.
Okay, so what will happen, I'm just going to go into the edit mode of this staff announcement, for example. So any of your pages, you'll notice the same thing. You got this dates. So right now, if we look at this, on August 16th of 2017, this page obviously was set to expire. Now, August 5th of 2017, whoever was ultimately responsible for this page should have received a notification. And then ultimately what happens is they have, in essence, 1 month from August 5th to August, well, a little over a month to August 16th to review the page. If no changes need to be made, just basically republish it for another year. Now, if some of your pages expire, okay, and sometimes that happens, you just forget basically to go, update the pages. If that happens, you guys, they don't get deleted, okay, so that's a good thing. But what will happen, if I'm going to just click on back here, from an internet user's perspective, when they come to the announcements category, that page for them would not be visible. Okay, it's almost like it was just removed from them, but it's not deleted. They just couldn't select it via this method. Now they can still search on it. So if they throw in a keyword up there and has been, it's found in that particular page, it'll offer those expired pages up through the search functionality. Now, what you can do from an administrator of your content area, or obviously a power user, you can go underneath administration, you can go into this manage pages area, and then you're going to see anything that's expired, okay, within here. And then you obviously could reset it to be active. Let's look at all pages here.
Yeah, because the staff announcements, they're updated regularly, so you don't really want them to be there.
No, they can definitely go.
Yeah.
But it's expired date.
Yeah.
But no, you have to manually go in and clean them up.
Yeah.
I see.
So
But they automatically.
So they automatically come off the front screen,
Yeah.
but the actual page still remains. So you can reactivate it if you want.
Okay.
You have to manually clean it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is where we're showing it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good to
Alright.
know.
Yeah.
No, it's a
'cause I
good
thought it was-
question.
Like, yeah.
Because that's what I noticed that I could still see, but that's because I'm a
You've been doing
user that I can still see everything. So I was just
Yeah.
wondering what would happen if it was for a regular person.
So it just doesn't get shown, it'll go into some sort of like archive system.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That we need to
Yeah,
delete
so
it.
from an internet user's perspective, they just wouldn't see it anymore accessing it via the, okay. So yeah, the good thing about it is it doesn't get deleted. All right, so excellent question on that. Okay, so I believe we were in this manage content area. All right, so we looked at your managed media, the ability to obviously change your author when that time comes, and obviously move pages en masse. The other thing, honestly, guys, do you use polls a lot on your pages where, you know, the content creator can add a poll? Was this information helpful? That type of concept?
No, I don't think we'll use that, really.
Okay, well, then ultimately, guys, you'll...
The site more regularly?
Yeah.
No.
We don't have a lot of, like, not many people are using it at the moment, so we're about to, like, basically say, hey, we're going to use it soon. So a lot of the additional features and fun features are just not active.
Okay. Well, really, the only reason you'd ever come back in here, you guys, is you can create what we call site-wide polls. So let's say that I'm a content creator in news and events. Well, and I've created a new, you know, announcement. One of my features, obviously, is always the ability to add a poll to a page. Well, I can always create my own polls. But if you think that a lot of people might use maybe the same poll, you know, was this page helpful or whatever it is, you can actually create ones back here, and then they can use those throughout the different content areas. But
Sherry, could you use it like an RSVP to say, will you attend this event, yes or no?
Yeah.
Is that how you can
No.
also use it?
No, it literally is just a poll, and that they would literally click yes or no. And then when you come to the page, it would basically show that 50% said yes, 50% said no, or 80% said yes. So in that sense, if you truly want, yeah, it wouldn't necessarily work in that sense.
Do we have an option like that?
Do we have yeah. So we did an invite and we wanted people to respond. Can you capture
You could do
that?
a calendar. You could do a calendar invite.
Yeah. To an event on a certain day, and then people say yes or no, and then you can.
So you know who's coming and who's not?
Know who's coming and who's not.
Yes, you would. So, for example, if you had a calendar, yeah, so the polls unfortunately wouldn't work for you in that sense. Oh, you do have a calendar. Aha. Okay, company events calendar. So let me just do new event here, and let me see how you've set it up. Aha, no attendees. Okay, so whoever created this calendar basically only gave it one function, and that is no attendees. Okay, so that's why probably when you guys have gone to calendars, you haven't been able to see the ability to invite. So let me go look. We're going to go into the edit mode of things. I'm going to go to manage content area, and I'm going to go into the edit mode of the calendar. That was called news or company events.
This is going to be on top of your inbox.
Yeah. Someone was saying to me that we are able to sync out, like, because we have Outlook and we use the Outlook calendar.
Yeah.
Are we able to? Is that one of the ladies may have mentioned that we are able to sync our calendars?
No, here's the only way that they work, you guys. First and foremost, this functionality in the calendar was not turned on invitation, so that's why you weren't given that ability. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, and that way we can see how it works. But here's how the calendars work. Our Interact calendars, once something is created, any type of an event is created, it can be downloaded to your Outlook calendars. But here's the thing. If you have something in Outlook, right now it cannot be downloaded to the Interact calendars. Now, good thing about it is, you guys, Interact is working on more functionality for the calendars. So at some point in time, most likely that type of functionality is going to be built in. But as of now, you can only, it's a one-way feed from Interact calendars to Outlook calendars or Gmail, whatever you happen to use. All right, so now that Go ahead.
Go into
Yeah, well,
Outlook.
let's do one now.
Okay, let's do one. Today, yeah.
Okay, so now you guys that I went back into the edit mode of that calendar, notice now that the invitation option is available. So if you do need to invite a couple people or a department, let me just, it's very similar, name, where, all that good stuff. I'm going to just create a test one, and I'll just basically send it out to,
Send it to me.
yeah, I'll send it to you. That way we're not spamming anybody.
Yeah, send it. Yeah.
Okay, so what happens once you choose invite only? That should be all I need. We'll find out here in a second. You're going to be directed to another screen. Now here, this is where you could eventually download it to your calendar. Okay, so Outlook, so there's that functionality there. But here's how you invite people. So if I put in Grace, or I could put an entire department, the entire organization. Okay.
If you put in no one, would it send to everyone?
Or
No. You would put in your entire organization's name.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, however that's being brought over by Active Directory. Okay. And then once you've identified who it should go out to, you write a brief message that is required. When you click on send, then that person would receive the notification. Then either whether they click on it via the email link or the link that will come through up in here, they'll actually be redirected to this exact screen that you're currently seeing. And these numbers are clickable, you guys. That's the nice thing about it. So if they want to see who else has been invited, they can click on it and they'll see a list of people here. You can also directly from here change. Maybe you want to see who's eventually attending. And you can export this list. Maybe you need a roster, so when they come in, you can mark them off that they actually did show up to the meeting or whatever. So you can export any of these lists. Okay, so they're all clickable here. Okay, but you just make sure when you create your calendars, when it comes to the options, just make sure that the option to invite is actually still checkmarked, and then you can kind of use it very similar to Outlook. Now, you can't set reoccurring events or anything like that, but once again, they're working on that functionality. So hopefully, eventually, that'll be a new functionality.
Reoccurring.
Oh, reoccurring.
Yeah, correct.
Like, yeah, okay.
Like team of the meeting every month.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And the invite, it's only the name of the director, I guess, not in our Outlook. Yeah, that's the same thing.
No, you got to respond in here.
Yeah. So it will go to my email.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll hit my email address, inbox, then I click on it, it takes me to Hive.
Take it back to here.
And then I click valid, maybe attending. Yes, no, maybe.
Yeah, so you can.
And then that event can go into my Outlook.
By hitting on that.
Yep, by saying add to calendar. Yep. You do that like even restaurant bookings through another thing, and you can add it to your inbox. Yeah, okay. Yep.
We'll play with this afterwards.
Yep. Okay.
Now, obviously, Outlook is extremely robust, and that's exactly what it's built to do. Now, the one advantage, obviously, with the Interact calendars is, if you do have a, company events calendar and things of that nature, then as you guys know, then to bring those events a little bit more to the forefront, you can utilize the content widget, point it to the company events calendar, and then bring those events through the actual widget itself. So that's really the nice thing about the things living in the internet is the ability to make them more visual through the widgets. All right, excellent question off of that. So hopefully that'll help you guys out.
Matter of clicking it when you.
All right, so really, guys, those are the main things under that manage content area. Changing author, so people are always responsible for pages. Knowing that you've got the media manager back there. And then, like I said, if people really started to use polls a lot, you could create some that are site-wide. Otherwise, honestly, your content creators, it takes them 2 seconds. They give it a title, they give them their options, and they've created a poll. So very rarely do I get too many organizations that, really go in and create polls for their content creators, but it's possible. All right, the last area, you guys, and basically we've been in it a couple times. Managed licensing is always going to basically show you what you have purchased. It's going to tell me how many licenses you have. It's got 150, 146 have been used. Okay, so you're almost out of your licenses. If you ever need to purchase more licenses, once again, submit a ticket, and then somebody in that particular area will reach back out to you. So when it does come time for that, submit a ticket. Otherwise, it basically tells you what you have currently purchased and what you have ability to kind of use. Okay, so quite a few things, so good job on that. Other things in here, so that's just going to kind of show you your license. Manage updates, we already know, is how you can bring in new versions. Do you guys use the system text at all? Have you guys had to use that? Okay. Now, I apologize. For my US clients, this is the very first thing that they want to change. The spelling of favorites. We don't spell it with the OU. Color is another thing that they want to change. Once again, we don't use the OU, it's just COLOR. Okay. So that is about the first question usually I will get from my site administrators is, how do we change that verbiage? Well, your system text, you guys, and for you guys, it might not really be relevant, but what my US customers do, they come in here, and right now you guys are set as English as your default, basically, editor here. And what they'll do is they'll come in here and they'll click Edit System Text. Now there's only, you guys, about 20% of the system text that you can change. Otherwise, a lot of it is very core to how the platform actually works. And even though we see it maybe in one place, it really might be tied to 50 other places throughout the internet, and we just don't see kind of where it's all connected. But to give you an example, and once again, I won't change anything, but for my US clients, what they do is they'll come in here and ask it to search for favorites. Now you're going to know right away, you guys, if it's available to change, because you're going to get these links. If nothing comes back, that's Interact's way of saying, sorry, you can't change that, is too core to how the platform functions. But this is something we know people like to change. So what they'll do is they'll come in here and spell it F-A-V-O-R-I-T-S. They'll hit replace all, and it goes through and finds any place where it's used at. And then ultimately what they do is they come down in here and click save, and then it changes, things such as this favorites icon and the spelling of it. Okay. So for my US clients, we typically will change about 3 things during our site admin training. That's favorites, color, and organization is spelled differently. A Z versus an S. Okay. But for the most part, you guys probably won't have the need maybe to use the system text, but that's what it's there for.
So you can change the system text, but you can't change the system color format.
No.
So for example, if we wanted to change the gray.
No, that's not system text, that's actual formatting, so your designer. So if you wanted to make changes, you would most likely have to reach out to your account manager, and I'm not sure if that was Gemma or Lucy.
Yeah.
And they would, okay, yeah, and basically they would then have to reach back out to you, and most likely it would cost you to basically purchase more design time to make maybe some color changes and things of that nature. So yeah, unfortunately, the system text truly is just changing some verbiage.
I think we've got the developer tool so we can actually do it by code, but I just don't know how to code, so.
Yeah, if you have someone on staff that has extensive CSS knowledge, you're right, there's a developer's framework where people can go in there.
Yeah, okay, great.
All right, so that's in essence, you guys, the managed system text, but it doesn't sound like you guys necessarily wouldn't necessarily need to change system text, but you can probably see why our US customers would like that changed.
One of the few times that is correct for us.
Yeah.
Normally in the US.
Oh, is it really? It's usually the opposite for you guys?
Well, normally most packages and most environments, yeah. It's like Microsoft, it only works, dominates, US text.
Yeah, that makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. So, yeah, this time, Derek, you guys obviously don't need to change it. So I definitely feel your pain sometimes. All right, we know that the application variables, you guys, like I said, if there's something that, ultimately you want to change, and if you want to know if you can change it from a power user's perspective, this is the place to come poke around, because if it's changeable, these are your default settings. Now, obviously, you've changed the name of the tab. So right now, I mean, you said you're not, using the internet a whole lot. Are people currently logging in and using it, or are you basically, you're still kind of building it and you really
That's why we
haven't?
want to raise the alert.
Yeah. We're trying to, like, I've completely like the homepage at least is completely different. So now we're just trying to get that email digest up and running so that people actually have to be directed to there.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So yeah, so in here, like I said, well, rewards default is in there. The only thing sometimes I'll get people that will change, and you guys might not want to since you're kind of already established. When you obviously build or upload a new page, by default, that expiration date is set to a year. Sometimes, I'll have an organization that says, we would like to bump that out to 2 years, so they can actually change the default setting. So that's actually done under content if you ever want to do that. But I kind of think a year or a year and a half sometimes is pretty good because it just makes you stay on top of your content so that people can trust it. But completely up to you. All right, so those are your default settings. Email management, you guys are extremely familiar with. Notification settings, we looked at earlier, your ability to lock things down or force out a new setting change within the notifications. Obviously, we have a new Interact app. Support is going to be kind of like for Derek, okay? So this is really designed here for kind of your IT person. And the other thing is if you ever submit a ticket, you guys, a lot of times our IT department may pop in here and just kind of see, what's kind of going on in this support area. So it's just a way sometimes to troubleshoot if needed. So it's a little support dashboard.
Do you mind going back to email management and just explaining to Derek and Justine the digest, just because I've been the only one to have a play with it?
Aha, the email digest.
So the digest thing is, so what is it? Because I know Grace understands what we're trying to do, but myself and Derek, it would be new for us, so to speak. So
okay.
So it's to create alerts. So say I upload an announcement and we want, once I update an announcement, I put an announcement on Hive, an alert goes to all users to say an announcement just went on.
So it's more like from the week. So
so we can do every announcement, or you could,
the digest pick it up.
So the digest allows us to control how many alerts everyone gets and what they get alerted on. So we thought we don't want everyone to be alerted 5 times a day. What we would create was an alert once a week where they would get an alert to their email to say the Hive's been updated recently. Here's some interesting reading you might be. So it might be announcements. So that's what this is to do. So create so you know how like I used to send out an email and then do a link to SharePoint. This should do it automatically once a week. So how does this work? How do we create this, Terry?
All right, so ultimately, and Grace looks like she's got it, or somebody's come in and set it up. Now we know that it's not working, properly the way it should.
Now, but once they fix that, then we need to be able to change it.
Okay, so let's say ultimately you only want it sent out on Fridays. So once you've identified when it should go out and the time and who it should go to, ultimately over here, there's 3 potential kind of categories, if you want to call it. So right now it would read, content you may have missed, and you got to give it a name, content you may have missed. Right now it's set to show 5 items. Okay, so if within the last 30 days, so if it's being set to publish on August 4th, this next Friday, then it's going to look 30 days prior to the August 4th date, and it's going to pull new pages or new content that had been basically published. Now here, if more than 5, it's only going to show the most recent 5. Okay, so you might want to drop that down to show more than just 5. So you get to decide how many it's going to show. There's a drop down there. And the other thing is, how maybe it only looks 14 days prior to it being published or something like that. So you control, obviously, kind of where, how many days it's going to actually look before it actually publishes. Okay, so right now it's set to look 1 month prior to its publication date. Over here, obviously it's going to show the author, publication date, and the first 100 characters of the summary, which is kind of nice from an internet user's perspective. Gives them an idea if they truly want to read it or not. Now, if you don't want this section, just take the check mark out. Okay, easy enough. Now here, whoever set this up initially has decided they don't necessarily want to use popular discussions, such as forums and those type of things. If you want to, just put the check mark in, and the same concept is basically how many it should show. And then once again, if it's going to be published on Friday, should it look 30 days prior to, or 14 days, or 5 days, or whatever it happens to be. So you can, once again, you have the same exact configuration. Now the last one here is where you ultimately get to have a little bit more control. Now somebody actually set all this up, which is perfect. So what they did, they've created a title called Important Dates and Announcements. They have specifically told that they want it to pull pages and calendar events. They basically just typed in here and then, picked something from the list. And then they've identified where these pages and these calendar events live. So they're in these particular content areas. And then once again, now they've only got it set to show one item. You might want to obviously drop that down a little bit. And then they've told it that they want to...
So we want to change all that, but yeah.
At the moment,
we can't change it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and when you are able to change it, that'd be something you might want to think about. Then otherwise, you can decide if it shows by publication date or alphabetized, A to Z type concept. And then once again, how much information over here do you want to show? Okay, so we use the digest, and for me, it's extremely valuable because once again, I work out of Colorado, and everything is published over from the UK. So we get ours twice, Wednesday and Friday, and then it just allows me very quickly to go through and say, okay, yeah, that pertains to me, click it and read it. Or a lot of times I'll bypass things going, doesn't pertain to me. So it keeps me up to date on new things that were published, because I'll be honest with you, based on my job, I am probably 80% of the time in somebody else's internet as opposed to our internet, because I'm constantly training people. So for me, it really keeps me up to date on stuff.
Yeah. Announcements, events, or stuff that's been put on there. But we don't want everyone to get be alerted every 5 minutes.
And just to triple confirm, the success or the help team said that if I don't put anyone where Grace's name is, where my name is, people to send, it'll send to everyone.
Okay, well that is good to know. Okay, so
with that, just so I make sure I understand you.
No, and that's fine. If you've heard that from our IT person, then obviously that's the way it's been set up. I typically, and maybe it's just kind of a preference, is typically a lot of times how Active Directory is set up. It'll bring over like the entire organization's name, and then I bring it up that way. So if you've been told otherwise, Grace, then obviously you can kind of utilize their knowledge as well. So. All right, so Justine, does that kind of give you a little better explanation about this area?
Yeah, well, that's because, I can put the announcements up and stuff. This is about, alerting people to those announcements without me having, to do it twice, but also encouraging people to start using the Hive, logging on. And if we're going to do, the Friday newsletter, that when it comes out on that month, we want to create the link to that and get people to go to the Hive. So that's what we're trying to do. Because people, they're doing too many other things. They don't think to log on. Where if they get an email, they'll more likely to click on the link and go into Hive. If we can get them to do that at least once a week, that would be our aim. And like if I have a mandatory read on that one, I might send that out.
Yeah, can I just confirm
on the day?
So this says content you may have missed.
Yeah.
And will that be everything and anything that's published
in the last 30 days?
That's going to be like pages. Actually, in that top section, forums, a lot of times we get thrown in there. So if somebody's posted something on a forum, they can click and go see what was posted. Like if you did have a mandatory read, that would be something obviously that would make that particular item. So it's really is kind of geared towards pages and calendar events. And if you wanted to make sure something specifically made it, that's why you have that bottom section. And they've already identified certain pages and certain events that they want to make sure that don't get overlooked.
Okay.
And they actually have a form in there.
Ensuring that everyone sees that. Yes, this is just anything. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Just confirming.
Yeah, and sometimes it'll show in both places, but at least you're making sure that that person has the opportunity to, you know, to see that content.
Okay. All right, that's good. I think, because the other question I had about the mandatory read, does it capture, like once the person's read it, that I can get a report to say who's read it and who hasn't? So with the mandatory read, so I want to use the Hive to say, you know, mandatory read. So this is a mandatory read. People get an alert, and then I need to, so you have to have had it read by a certain time. Can I produce a report that says Grace has read it, but Derek hasn't yet?
Absolutely. Give me a second here. Let me get to my site. Since you don't have any mandatory reads, it'll be easier if I demonstrate this from my demo site. Let me just make sure I'm logged still into my site here. There I am. All right, you guys, what I'm going to do real quickly, and it'll work the same on yours, it's just that I'm going to make me the presenter. All right, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so this is my demo site. Okay, so it might have been a little bit of a delay. All right. So this is my demo site, and you can see here that I've got 8 mandatory reads that have been pushed out. Okay, so from an internet user's perspective, they can click on it, and then obviously over here they can mark off they've read it. Now, so let's say, Justine, that you push out a mandatory read. One of the probably the most efficient ways, I think, of identifying who's read and who hasn't. Okay, so here it was pushed out for my human resources content area. If you go underneath administration and you go to manage pages, what you can do as a power user here is there's a mandatory reads tab. So any mandatory reads that are pushed out from this content area will be listed here. Okay, it's going to show me that 5 have read this one and 55 still have not read it. Now there's 2 things I can do in here. These numbers are clickable. So if I click on the number 55, I can see that all these people still need to read it. Now there's what you can do here. This top select all button says staff member. If I select that, that selects everybody below me. I can send them out a reminder. So this would then generate, once again, that email, and they would also go through that notifications bell, and it's going to remind them that they still have a particular mandatory read that's been assigned to them. Okay, so you can generate reminders, which is fantastic. Now, let's say you've sent them out a reminder to, and you've still got some individuals that just refuse to read it for some reason. You can also, from this same screen, you can export the list. So right down there at the bottom. Now, the only thing probably, Justine, I would probably recommend you do is once you export it, I would probably, if I was you, I'd add some more information. So here's my list, but maybe I come down in here and I give maybe the name of the mandatory read, and maybe you can add maybe like the date it was initially pushed out or something like that. So as much information as you may need later when you recall it, and then you can save it. Okay.
I'll just ring
so,
them.
Absolutely.
Stand over them. Erica, I just stand over their computer. Read these. Unless you've got a good reason.
Yeah, so you'll be just fine with that.
Yeah, no, that's really important. I need to know who's read it and who hasn't.
Yeah, and same thing, this number here is clickable, and you can export the list who has read it. Okay. Excellent. Very good question on that, because you're right, you push out a mandatory read. Obviously, it's important. You need to know who's read it, and sometimes those people need a little nudging, so you send them a reminder.
And I'll get them in and just say, well, if we needed to follow up on that action item, as they read it, we need to prove that they have. That's good. That solves the issue.
Very good. Any other specific questions you guys have?
So we know how to upload the mandatory read, don't we?
Yeah, you just have to tick the box to show the mandatory. Do you want to just take Justine through how she set something as a mandatory read?
Absolutely.
So I uploaded like a mouse, but then I click that mandatory read thing. So that where I save it, look, we haven't worked that out yet. We might need to create a HR like we did in SharePoint and HR file.
Sure.
Yeah, and then,
Not just sort of like under all the documents.
Yeah.
I reckon we create a little HR hub, and then we'll have all the HR policies in there.
yeah, we've already done that.
Under HR, or, yeah? Oh, okay. No, I'm okay with that, I know, to tick the box, because I think I did it one time on an announcement.
Yeah, so really, if that needed, so how this one, even any one of these, Justine, once you're in a page and you're in the edit mode of the page, there's a features tab. And on that features tab, you're going to see where it says mandatory read. And then when you click on it, it allows you to manage it. And really all you're doing here is identifying who it should go out to. So once again, if it should go to, say, my marketing department. Now, here's the thing on this. This throws people off. Once you've identified who it should go to, okay, so maybe it goes to, and then also Terry, don't forget to click add. It's going to show you your list because maybe you're like, oh, yeah, he probably doesn't need to read it. So you can still, clean it up here. But once you click save and you publish it, then that mandatory read would go out to whoever's you have ultimately selected.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's all it is. Just go to the features of any one of your pages, and then you can turn on the mandatory read functionality.
Okay.
Okay. All right, anything else, you guys?
No, you can do the links, do the upload. We're working on the alert, and then because we're going to add things to that Friday forum.
Yeah.
The communication thing.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
That's good.
Okay.
Well, it's definitely, that's more than we've. And I guess it's about going through and finding.
So just the second session that we've got
Scheduled.
Sherry?
Yes, go ahead, Grace.
Yeah, sorry. So that's on the author, like being the author of content. Is that correct?
Correct. Now, once again, you guys, it can be just for you guys. We can also include maybe some of your content creators if you want them to get more involved and be shown how to do it. So I'll leave that completely up to you guys if you want to invite other individuals to the training.
Yeah, sure. And when will that be?
Whenever we, same thing, all agree on a date and time that would work.
Okay. Would you want to send me today like a ballpark of when
Your availability?
you are available, and then because I'm actually leaving, but I'd like to organize it so at least it's scheduled or before I go.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, so are you guys...
Availability over weeks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Justine, what'd you say?
If you could give Grace your availability over the next 2 weeks, over the next 2 weeks, your availability of the session time, then Grace will talk about who should attend and see if we can get them locked down.
I think people want to.
Yeah. I think Pete, Dave even. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that'd be good.
Yeah. And I'll tell you guys right now, the week of the 7th, I'll look at my schedule and see if I have some availabilities. The week of the 14th, I am not available. My schedule is completely packed that week, so I'll send you some options for the week of the 7th and the week of the 21st, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Just as long as it's scheduled in. I actually leave on the 17th, so if it has to be the week after, that's okay. It's just I want to make sure it's locked in.
Yeah.
So everyone's.
Yeah, we can go ahead and just get the GoToMeeting sent out. So even if it ends up being for some reason, the 21st or something in here, we can go ahead and get the GoToMeeting sent out so that way it's plugged into everybody's calendar.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay.
You are welcome. All right, well, it's definitely nice working with you guys today, and I appreciate you taking 2 hours out of your morning to sit with me and listen to me talk. As a reminder, Grace.
Sorry, Sherry.
Yes.
Documentation on how to use this product.
Do you guys have access to the community?
Yeah. I don't think Derek does. Is that something that our account manager has to add each individual person?
Grace, you can give me Justine's, if you give me Justine's and Derek's email address and their full name, then I can actually set them guys up with access to the community.
Okay, right. Because I know that we struggled to get access and then we were granted access, but it's only the 2 others in marketing that have access at the moment. So I'll send that over straight away.
Perfect. Yeah, and I can get them set up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather try that first and then all you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Sometimes
Yeah.
they take it out. Like they're like training manuals.
Yeah.
Or,
Well, that's what
yeah,
I've been using the whole time.
internet. Yeah.
Yeah, and then once you guys are given access to the community, here's the community actually right now. When you click on the support, all of our manuals, our training manuals and things of that nature, there's this area called Interact University. And that's where everything's located. So Derek, at some point in time, if you want to learn more about our single sign-on, you can click on there. We've got anything dealing with the kind of the people directory. Site structure would be the top menu is, you know, with like your news and events, the top menu. Side menu refers to a content areas left-hand menu. So anything that could be, you know, used in a left-hand menu, such as, you know, creating those calendars and how to create, you know, settings for your content areas. So everything in here, there's information on the widgets. So you'll definitely find some good information under this Interact University. And this is for you guys, so you can print things out, share them with the other coworkers. So definitely use it as much as you can. And this is also where Grace comes. If Grace is going to be leaving you guys, this is also where she comes to submit support tickets. So Derek or Justine, if you know later on you know something's not working correctly, okay, you can see where I'm in that same area under support. There's an area called submit a ticket. And as Grace can tell you, it's fairly straightforward what it's going to ask you to do. You're going to provide a description. Basically, you get to decide if it's high, medium, or low, you know, how life-threatening is it in essence. And then somebody from Interact support team will assist you with that ticket.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Good.
Very good. All right, well, Grace, the last thing, just to make sure that your recording gets saved, you're going to want to make sure you shut off the recording, and it's going to get saved in your documents.
Okay.